Here we go.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Sure. We've got attorney Neil Rockheim. Neil Rockheim, rockstar lawyer, has been thrown down all over the state defending patients and caregivers. He recently, let's see if I can get some of these straight. I know that we discussed the Judge Summers, one of the district court Dearborn judge, who very outspoken of his disdain for cannabis and medical cannabis, at times ruling that federal law preempts the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. Neil successfully argued and had this judge recused from sitting in the medical marijuana case that he has. Very, very difficult thing to do. It doesn't happen often. It's hard to convince a judge sitting in the same court to rule against another judge. And the stories go on. Neil, we can talk about everything. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
We can. How are we coming out?
You're great. Terrific. So, first of all, my kudos on your victory today. Look, at any time, I'm fond of saying, if you remember the old Worldwide in Sports when I used to watch it when I was a kid, and they show the agony of defeat, with that one skier, that poor guy who's immortalized forever as the guy that couldn't quite make the long jump, that ski jump.
Oh, yeah.
Every time that we, as criminal defense lawyers, win a case or do something that sets somebody free, I have to say you kind of feel like you saved that guy. You know what I mean? Right before he went down the hill, you said, "Hey, dude, don't." And I felt that way walking into Judge Summers' courtroom. When our case got assigned to Judge Summers, believe me, I got a pit in my stomach because he was just done so many things that were anti and negative marijuana. I mean, things that you couldn't possibly believe that a judge in Michigan would do. I don't know if many of your listeners know, but this is the judge that has cost the city of Dearborn millions of dollars in civil judgments. I mean, the city is on the hook for millions of dollars. He's been sued by ex-court employees. He referred to marijuana as the devil's weed, Satan surge, devil's weed. That's all in deposition transcripts. He tells people who are accused of marijuana crimes or who have tested positive for THC on urine tests that they have blood on their hands, that they themselves are partly responsible for the deaths of innocents in Mexico, in the Mexican drug wars. And he ruled that medical marijuana.
He holds up a front page paper, like a Free Press article or something that says there's like a murder story about a drug dealer.
The most extraordinary thing. I mean, he just does it, and then he lectures people. He says that there are people that are dying in Sinaloa, and you're to blame for that, and you have blood on your hands. And then he came out with this extraordinary ruling that the Medical Marijuana Act was null and void in his courtroom. So my client's case gets assigned, and then he went on television to talk about it. And when my client's case got assigned there, I just turned to my client and I said, "Look, do you want to ride?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I think, and Mike can attest to this. Mike and I have had a couple of cases together. Mike, what did I say after our client, when I was done examining our client and the prosecutor was about to get up and do her cross? And what I said to my client?
Put your seatbelt on.
Buckle up. That's exactly what I told my client. I said, "Buckle up, boy, because we're about to go on a ride." And we went after Judge Summers, and he denied us. And we then appealed, which we have a right to do. And I'm going to tell you, Judge Wygonic, God bless him, he was so in Dearborn. He said, "It doesn't give me any pleasure to do it, but I'm disqualifying Judge Summers from hearing this medical marijuana case." And mine was the first case that anybody had ever raised the medical marijuana issue after he ruled in that case a while ago that it was unconstitutional. And it was honestly music to my ears. Our chief judge of our Michigan Supreme Court once said, if you aim for there's an old saying, if you aim for going to assassinate the king, aim straight and don't miss. You know what I mean? And I put my all into trying to take down Judge Summers. He needed to be off this case. And apparently, according to the court reporter, they got tens, if not scores, of phone calls from lawyers within hours of that ruling. So
he's off every.
What's the old saying about King? What's the old saying about Ding Dong, the witch is dead? You know what I mean? So
right.
Exactly
it's funny.
Right.
Little did Judge Wygotic know that his docket just tripled now, right? Like he's got.
It doesn't matter. He'll shift.
I know.
You know what?
I know.
He'll
Just
shift
kidding.
Let he and Judge Holcomb shift all the domestic violence cases and the other crap over to Judge Summers. It's ridiculous. And for all your listeners, anybody who's a Wayne County resident, hear me. I hope you're tuning in and listen to what Neil Rockin is saying right now. Listen carefully. In November, you are likely to see the name Judge or Mark Summers, who's going to run for circuit court judge. He's going to actually try to take his act to the next level, despite everything that he's done in Dearborn. Do not vote for that man. Do not vote for him.
We can target that. That's good stuff.
He goes on the proposal.
So there's so much more that's happened. Let's see. We just had another medical marijuana case in Oakland County yesterday that the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office actually ended up dismissing. It was a victory for us. Our client was over his plant count. The client was over his marijuana count. He had Crohn's disease, and we had put together just simply the best challenge to a search warrant I've ever put together. It was phenomenal. And I want to say something. I haven't always been complimentary to the Oakland County Prosecutor. You know that, Mike. I have been critical many times. But I have to say the prosecutor that I dealt with on this case, his name is Mark Keese. He is he honestly is the prototype for conscientious, ethical prosecutor. Despite some of the issues in the case, I knew I was going to win on the search warrant, on the search issue. Police really did some stuff. We're going to post the brief on our blog, and you're going to get a chance to read it, what they did. They did some unbelievable stuff. But the prosecutor himself, when he and I sat down and talked, and I explained my client's medical condition, he said, "Do you have some documentation of it?" I said, "Yes. My client has Crohn's disease." He said, I have a relative who has it, and I do too. And he read the stuff. He went to his supervisor, who you know, who was Beth Hand, who had not been a friend of many medical, or at least the medical marijuana community, and I consider her a friend. She said, "What do you want to do with the case?" And he said, "I don't think that we should prosecute, legitimate patients." And they up the chain agreed to dismiss this case. God bless. And I listen. I've been critical, and when I'm critical, I'm righteously critical. But when I'm complimentary, when they do something right, they deserve to be complimented. That was a righteous move on their part, and that man is to be commended for it.
Yes.